Today we are delighted to share the incredible story of an experiment that has become a reality, the German University of Digital Science. Just over a year ago, we embarked on this journey with our first degree programs, and today we are thrilled to see the fruits of our labor come to life. When we first talked about creating a fully digital university, many people thought it was just a nice idea. They didn't think it become part of a regular university operations. Today, Christoph Meinel and I are here still sitting as co-presidents of this German UDS. It's still reality. And we can say that's exactly what happened. Since its founding, it has become a state-recognized university with 6 accredited master's and MBA programs. In the next half year, we will have 6 more MBA and master programs. We have international student body and a virtual campus that is used every day. In this episode, From Campus to Cyber, we don't want to tell a glossy or success story, but honestly share what it was like to build the university and what we learned in the past year. Today, Christoph Meinel and I are sitting here as co-presidents of the German UDS, and we can say this is exactly what happens. And since its founding, it has become a state-recognized university. I think we will still discuss about this process later, with 6 accredited master and MBA programs and international student body and a virtual campus that is used every day. In this episode of From Campus to Cyber, we don't want to tell a glossy story about success and other things, but honestly share what it was like to build the university and what we learned in the past year, or maybe about in the past 2 years. So what we will do is we just want to talk about first the understanding of what is behind the scenes, or what we are at this moment. So Christoph, what do you think is your status quo now after 1 year with starting the first students on the 1st of April last year? So what do you think? What do you feel today?
The status quo is we have about 100 students in the different programs: applied AI, cybersecurity, advanced digital reality for technicians, for IT professionals, but also the MBAs for digital transformation and digital technology for people that are involved and responsible to drive digitalization projects. So there are the students, and of course there are the teachers, the professors. And most of our modules are presented by professors which are appointed to this university. In the moment are 17. And this is for 1 year, I think, a great number. If you look to the state university, there is appointment of a professor, a process which is meanwhile 1.5, almost 2 years. And we could make it with the 17 professors in not even 1 year. So the professors are there to present the modules to the students. The students are there. There is technology around because all is happened completely digital. So there is a campus management system, which is for administrating all the student affairs. Student can apply there. The students can choose which of the modules they want to read in a quarter. And then for each module is presented on a learning management system, an OpenEdX we are using, an open source system. So all this is running and is working. And in a few days, our first 2 students finish their study and get a degree, an MBA degree, from the German University of Digital Science.
When I just add some of my ideas, or our ideas we had as we started last April. So I think it was a big challenge that we just got the accreditation, I think, in the mid of February last year. And then there were only 4 weeks or 5 weeks for the process to get students. And I think that was a challenge, and for the first step we did a very good job. I think what happened then is, and that was for me a very important point, to bring together all the ideas of different professors and to start with the learning platform and all the difficulties we have to produce all the videos and to organize all this. And what happens is that we just had an increasing part of teams and employees and so on. And I think to manage this was also a challenge for us as presidents, so that there was an increasing governance and handling all this was also, of course, based, and we just can talk about this a little bit later, about the financial base of all that. But I think there was it was so fast that even if I just look back now after 1 year, and just if we sit down for dinner or lunch and said, hey, what did we do during the last 12 months? And so for me, Christoph, what makes us, if we just look to what was our target and what is now the result today, so what makes you satisfied and what do you think should be done much more intensive?
Let's start with a remark. It sounds so easy to say study program completely digital. And the people agree and say yes. Then some people I see, they are thinking about that, and then they ask themselves, my study on a campus, this was not only learning, this was also getting friends, getting a network, working together, and also making together a party. So to provide a complete digital program, the one thing are the lectures. There are good experience with the massive open online courses around the world. Many people are used to use this. But the single module, the single MOOC, the single, we call it micro-degree program, is not a study. So a study is to put this together, also to form teams in the students, to create at least a virtual community, which is very important for learning, because learning, study and learning is for the most people, is some social thing. And I think to our welcome weeks, where we, in the beginning of the study programs, work with the students from all the programs to let them feel a team, let them feel this is a university, gives them an introduction into what the professors are doing in their research work, what they are doing as a teaching, they experience every week, every day. But what they do in their research, the professors, and we are a university, so it's not only teaching, it's also research. This is for the students interesting, it is inspiring to say, this professor tells me this, but in his research, he is 2 steps ahead to investigate things, to find out what is the truth. So this is the one thing. The other thing is how to organize such a complete digital study. The students can sit and can take part from anywhere in the world. They can do it whenever they have time or fun. So also for the students, it's a challenge to create a schedule over the day, over the weeks, which integrates this study work into their everyday life. Most of our students are part-time students, so they have a profession, they need to earn money. So to organize this, so I was very astonished that it was going so fast. So the 2 students which will finish their study after 1 year, this is what in Germany is called Regelstudienzeit. This is not the typical case in the universities. They are in the campus universities, in the traditional universities. Often students need longer to follow their programs. Another point is how to assess the results of the students. In the campus university, it is an oral examination, it is a clausur or other things. Here we have to do all in online version, and this was an important task to explain to the accreditation agency how this work, to convince them, also to convince the Wissenschaftsrat, to convince them that it's the same serious way to assess the knowledge and the abilities of the students like this can be done in a campus university.
But this is very interesting. It leads us a little bit to what happens if you just remember 2023 as we just started with our idea. Then this whole process was Wissenschaftsrat and accreditation. So it was theory. So we just wrote a concept about 1,000 pages. And afterwards now, if we just see what happens in the reality. So do you think that what we just thought about the future university, the digital university, and what happens now in the real life of university life, do you think that there are some difference? Do you think that we just have to change our strategy, our concept in different ways?
I think it's a fast start we could do with the students so that it really work was a result from a very deeply thought concept. A concept which in all details described how we proceed in this way, in this task, and what we do here and what we do there. So usually when universities are started, the first phase, they get green light for having a rough concept and then trying to implement this. In our case, I think this was not a rough concept. It was a real working from the many experience we had in our long lives and working phases, that we, on all the points, were thinking and came with proposals how to solve this in a digital concept. So later on, when we look back, we will think, oh, this was great. But in every day, we think we follow exactly what we expected and it works. And I think this is an important factor which helps to succeed with such a completely new concept.
But that leads us to this problem or the challenge between traditional universities and our new concept of university. So if we talk about the higher education system, what happens, and so what we just thought as we started and what we discuss now is that we say we are a lighthouse or a blueprint also for all the other universities, because what we just very often discuss was that we just take care about a task which is more a task for the ministry or the state, because changing the educational system in a digital transformation process is a very, very high potential task. But if you think, what is for the digital university, as we just thought about this idea before, do you think this is the right direction? Because we just if you just look to the market and to the market access, it's not easy to handle. That most of the international students just want to take more in the direction that they just come to Europe or Germany, or that they just want to have a presence in their study program. So what do you think? How can we handle that for the future? And what is the difference to in the competition to the traditional universities?
The concept of a digital university is, in the first moment, easy to understand, but in the consequences, the people doubt whether this is possible. So we see it, and I underestimated it. It's not so easy to convince interested young people, not only young people, interested people, to do the experiment of a digital study. In the moment, it looks like an experiment, because one cannot see it in other places or other things. Of course, many campus universities, they offer also some topics in digital form. But it's a big difference to a completely digital program. So students, let's look, for example, to the Global South, which have the idea to get a foreign degree. Often they discuss with the families and collect the money and expect to come here into Germany, UK, or US. The group of students which are, for example, for financial reason, not able to think about a study abroad, they do not come immediately to the idea that they can study with us, which is so much cheaper than to come here, to study online with us and having the same result, to getting a degree, a German university degree, MBA or a master degree, from where they live. So to convince them needs time. We have to show absolvents, and so I am very happy about our first group of students, because there was, when we get 1 month before the permission, no way to make marketing or other things. So in that things, we also, our German UDS Foundation also offered some scholarships, so that the student need nothing to pay. So I was very impressed by the first group of our students, which already are active in scientific congresses or a paper or in the world. Often it is so that people that are encouraged to step in something what nobody knows are really a special type of human. So we are proud on it's a few number of students, but we can be very proud on that. And what we have to work hard to explain and to convince people, this is the same way for getting qualified, like in a campus university. At the end, as well, on the campus university, as well as the digital university, it depends from the single student, from the single person, to make something out, to study in a way, to intensively learn, to manage to get a degree.
I think what is for me a very important point is that we just received a lot of respect from the traditional universities. First, for the step going for a private university and not for applied University of Science, so that we just saw that they saw it's necessary that there is someone who takes care about this and takes a responsibility for that. On the other side, if you just look back, so 1 year in daily operations. So what it was for me very surprising was the first that we just have students from even 22 different countries. And on the other side, I saw that we just thought in the first beginning that we just want to have the target groups in the Global South. Do you think we have to change our strategy now after 1 year in the daily operations to be more orientated to North America, for example, or Europe or so on? Or what do you think is the first experience with this target market in the daily in the Global South?
I think it's too early to generalize and say this and this would be the right way. If you look back, our marketing organization, it works since 3 months, 2.5 months. And of course, they have to learn what they do, and they have to learn in which part of the world, in which country, in which continent, the interest is in particularly high, or the trust is high to us, to a German university, to really help them to get a degree that's recognized around the world. And in that things we have a little bit to wait, so we tried it with India, with a partner there to win students. We have in Mexico we have our local offices. In the moment, we start to becoming active in the Arabian region. So we will see what's going. There are different peoples with different cultural understanding, with different expectations about costs of such a study. So we need patience to do this. Typically, it's then to an academic institution. To become visible in Renowite needs 20 years. Of course, we hope to get it in 2 years instead of 20 years.
But I think this is the challenge, Christoph.
1 year is definitely very short.
What is the challenge for us is we have on the one side the market access and entrance for the different regions and target markets, and on the other side the branding, to get a brand. And of course it takes time. And so if we just have a look back for the first year, so we started with a clear structure of a pedagogic system for producing the models. Do you think that we just have some limits in the digital model, or is it on the other side after our first experience, and that's my opinion, that we saw that there is much more potential in the digital structure, in the scaling aspects and so on. So what did we learn after 1 year in the producing our modules and our teaching experiences?
So if we compare campus university and our digital university, there are differences. And this is clear. One can provide a campus and campus experience. We can provide a kind of own way to organize the study. So we give all the materials for 1 week in the beginning of the week to the students, and then they can organize when they will deal with that fact, when they do this homework, when they work in a project. What is a huge advantage of such digital university is that we can offer the single topics, the single modules independently from the study program, and can invite people which need to be upskilled. For example, in our study programs, AI, applied AI, there is such a fast development, new knowledge comes up, old becomes obsolete. And so the people can take all the single pieces of our programs for their continuing education. And here I hope that companies better understand that first is necessary to take care to educate their people, to hold them on in their knowledge level, which is up to date. And on the other side, responsible to do this and offer them the possibility. And for working people, it's difficult to go to a campus, but to take part in digital programs, it's very easy. So each model has its advantages, its disadvantages. It's not one-to-one. And this enlarges the possibilities for different types of students. So for us, for our digital model, I can imagine that many people which had difficulties in their educational past or stepped out from the university, didn't finish the study, and became aware during their work that it would be good to have a degree. Then it's difficult for them to go to a campus. But to enroll with us helps them to get the degree, which fits into their everyday life, family, work, and all the needs they have.
Let's come back to what we just discussed about 1 year experience of the German UDS. So I think what we did well is we prepared a good and well-functioned system of the learning platform of all our offering modules. What I think is the next step is what is special at the German UDS. So for example, how do we integrate AI in not only as modules and as study programs? So what is AI? So we talked about an AI charter during the last 2 weeks. And the second point is, of course, virtual campus, so for orientation and identification. And at least also, we just have to talk about avatars and all these new technology, all these new options, to integrate them in our teaching, in our daily teaching, in our structures. So what is, I think, a most important target for us is to be more and more digital also in our processes. So I think if I see what happens during 1 year, we just had a lot of administration work and building up all the things. So do you think we just should try to do the next steps in this direction? And what are your perspective just thinking about this direction?
As I think, particularly for a young university that needs to find their way into this world, into the academic world, into the research and other things, we have a great position offering AI study programs, offering programs advanced digital reality. On the other side, we have the professors to teach this, and these professors do also research in AI. So what all the professors together try to do is to use this new digital technology in their teaching work. So there is really a community between the students and the teachers which commonly think how this new AI technology can be used to improve learning, can be used in a right way, which is the big questions in all the educational institutions now. How to organize examinations, what are the tasks for the students, what need they learn, what is becomes obsolete because AI will take over. So it's really, in my eyes, an Humboldt university with a Humboldt's idea of the community of students and researchers to follow common research questions, to stepping in a future, in an unseen future, which is where AI plays a very important role. And this was AI. The other thing is the virtual world, the metaverse, how we can, when we digitally cooperate, how we can bring in some haptic, some understanding, some rooms. So we have this COVE project. Also here, the students and the professors cooperate together and try to improve from simple rooms and labs to more. And I expect soon to see our main building in the virtual world, so that students can see, oh, when we go to the German University of Digital Science, then we go in this.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah, this is. I think this is very necessary because this is the different to real and only learning platforms. So there must be a place where the people just can have an identification worldwide, and that brings me to the next point. So let's think about our position in the competition of all the universities, and what is our next step. So do we want to have more collaborations with international universities? You just mentioned our first steps into different countries. So what does it mean for collaboration with other universities? So what I think is very important, that networking is more and more important in this digital world. So exactly, if we talk about exchange program, university as a service, what we just offer and so on. And I think the platform idea behind that is very important. I think we are just the first step for educational platform. And so what do you think is the next step if we just talk about our position? So I think we are not only a European university, we are a worldwide university. So I think in the digital world, there are no borders and no regional borders. So I think this is a very important thing, because we very often discussed it, that the people said, you are the first German digital university, or the first European. So I think there are two things what we just have to discuss. First is, what is our strategy, thinking and platform orientation, or thinking in collaboration with other universities. And the second point is thinking about new directions and the business models and so on. And I think it's a very important point for us as a strategy in the next years.
So we have some very special offer for the cooperation with other universities. We call this University as a Service. for people that are a little bit familiar with the IT technologies and the cloud brought to everyone the possibility to use computational power without having an own computer. Simply the internet connection to such a cloud is necessary to use to perform huge computational tasks, to store data and others. So without personal and infrastructure resources, one can do great things. University has offer our digital programs, our digital modules can be taken by every other university. For example, in a case they want to introduce an AI study program and do not have a professor for AI, they can offer their students our programs. This is with the ECTS points, with the credit points, the universities can exchange such teaching offers. This is difficult with the campus universities. They cannot do. They need to find a person that comes to the campus to present this topic to the students there. Here we can offer this university as a service offers to a university in India, in China, in Mexico, also here in Potsdam. And this is a great thing, and we have to develop this. The universities have to understand that also helps them to, for example, enlarge the programs for their students by providing lectures which are in our program. The other thing was this aspect of the worldwide cooperation. In the traditional universities, there's a campus. There's a region around, and many focus is on this region, on the interaction with the companies, in the neighborhood, with the people, with the families, and in the digital world, for us, the neighborhood is as well Global South, is as well America, US, or anywhere in the world, and to experience this, that one can cooperate without borders. This is a sign of the new digital world. And in the university area, we are the first to provide such kind of experience and have such possibilities. So in that sense, our university is every time a global, with global access, with students from all worlds. This also provides some eventually challenges because with a different cultural background, they have to cooperate together. This is there are also foreign students at the campus university, but mainly the people are from the regions there, speak the same language. So we have this English as the language that works around the world, and in that sense, is new possibilities, new challenges, and I'm very happy in my age to experience this.
Yeah, so let's summary that what we just discussed, Christoph. I think we are still motivated after this hard journey, and I think there were many hurdles. And what we need to discuss is also the financial background, what is not easy to handle for a private university, especially as a non-profit university where we just have to work very hard during these days. And also there were skeptical glances and technology or technical glitches and financial. We just have to move about lots of hurdles during the next 2 years, I think. But at the moment, and when we realize what happens with all the real works, and there's something I think it's emerging, and here is something just still going up what doesn't exist worldwide. So there are some other universities, they are just telling us they are just working online, but I think we are the first online university like this in the world. And so I think the decision to found this university for us, for both of us, was the right decision. And I think if we see what happens here in the university with the new team and with all the new professors, so I think this is what makes us very happy, I think so, and what leads us to thinking about the next 2 or 3 years years. Maybe we will have some more experience in 1 year if we just have much more students who have just finished their study program. So thank you all for listening to today's episode. And if you have questions or would like to get in touch with us, don't hesitate to reach out via the German UDS website or channels. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christoph. And we are still going on. See you next time.